Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Everything is Bad new Fangled Motion Picture Show.
So the latest in the ongoing trend of making movies about self-destructive rock icons has come out, and this one's about Elton John.
Yep.
Called Rocketman.
Rocketman.
I am Niall.
And I'm Nolan.
And we're going to be doing a spoiler-free review of Rocketman, and then giving you a spoiler warning and going a bit more in depth into it after that, like we do. It's seems
kind of our thing.
Yep, it's worked fairly well so far, so we're gonna keep doing it, and there's nothing you can do about it. So here we go. So Rocketman, what's with all the biopics lately about self-destructive music icons, Nolan?
I don't know. I guess they're interesting.
And like just movies about like older rock icons in general. I mean, we've also got Yesterday coming up, which isn't. I mean, it's not.
It's not about the Beatles.
Yeah, it's about their music. And then there's also what's that?
Blinded by the Light.
Yeah, Blinded by the Light.
Yeah, the one about Bruce Springsteen's music.
Right. Seems to be that like people just like it's common there for a bit to just keep doing remakes or like taking things from people's childhoods and making them into movies like Transformers or whatever. That sort of stuff was popular for a while. Now it seems like movies about actual people, but that aren't necessarily themselves biopics.
Yeah,
seems to be common.
This movie is like, it's much like
Bohemian Rhapsody.
Bohemian Rhapsody, where it's about Elton John, but it's not a biopic, in that there's a lot in there that is tweaked or made up, added and subtracted, whatever, to get to this movie. It is also, it's partially a musical. There's segments where it's a the characters break out into song and dance.
Yep. There's people dancing in the streets, literally.
A lot of that seems to actually be within Elton's head, is the way they're doing it, and when it like pulls back at the end of the number, it seems to me like that was mostly the case in those scenes where it was like really in his head.
Yep.
But there's still these musical song and dance numbers, and not just like in Bohemian Rhapsody. When your favorite song comes up, it's them like recording the song or performing the song or whatever. But a lot of them, that's in there too. But a lot of these are musical numbers, like you'd see in a musical.
Yeah, and there's a couple of song segments where it's used as a montage of like multiple performances.
Set to show passage of time.
Right, which they did in Bohemian Rhapsody as well. But overall, this was a pretty enjoyable movie.
Yeah. If you're a fan of Elton John or whatever, you like some of his songs anyway, probably have a good time with it.
Yeah.
Everyone does a pretty good job in it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I like Taron Egerton.
Yeah, he sang his own songs in this too.
Yeah. He's a pretty talented guy.
Yeah.
I gotta say. Well, he was in that movie Sing as well.
He sang an Elton John song in that movie.
Did he?
Yeah.
Man, that's a movie that got delayed and delayed.
Yeah. That was that Illumination, or was that?
Yeah, it was Illumination. So yeah, but anyway, Taron Egerton does a great job in this movie. Just really hamming it up as Elton, like in an Elton John way.
Yeah, well, you can't help it if you're playing Elton John. You got to like go over top with everything.
Yeah. So yeah, I think this was probably a better made movie than Bohemian Rhapsody.
Okay.
But Elton John, I think, also had a rougher life in general.
Yeah, I think so. Because Freddie Mercury, at least growing up, his family life was not bad, whereas Elton John's was.
Yeah. So, but yeah, if you're unaware that Elton John had, a rough childhood and then got taken advantage of by, record label and whatnot, and turned to a lot of drugs and alcohol and sex and flamboyant spending. If you're unaware of those things, I don't know how that could possibly be true, but I guess that could be a bit of a spoiler for you.
Yeah, I guess so.
So,
yeah, overall though, that was a pretty good movie.
pretty good movie. Not a whole lot to say about it. I mean, it's a biopic base, like sorta, essentially, about Elton John. I think it has pretty much all of his most famous music in there, except for anything from The Lion King.
Yep, and this was executive produced by Elton John, so I don't know if that makes it skew more truthfully or not.
I mean,
but
it shows some serious mistakes he made in his life.
yeah, I did read that it took him a while to get the movie made because a lot of studios wanted like a PG-13 movie, and he was like, "No, I didn't lead a PG-13 life."
Yeah. Lots of gay sex in it and drug use.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's not a PG-13 movie.
Nope.
But yeah, I think that's pretty much all I have to say about it.
Yeah. So, spoiler warning.
I suppose.
There's not a whole lot to say either. One thing I did like, though, is it starts off with him walking into this rehab center wearing one of his costumes, and it's like the big devil costume with the horns and the wings, and he sits down in this circle of this where they're talking things out, and he starts telling his life story, and as it periodically cuts back to him, he's like wearing less and less of the costume. It's like he's taking it off, pieces of it off, and eventually he's like wearing a robe and then like a tracksuit.
Yeah, it's implied that like it shows him actually removing some of the components from the costume, and it's implied that he's just sort of getting rid of the costume while he's talking, and then eventually it sort of implies that he's been there for a while and this is just a different session entirely.
Yeah.
And that's how the story's told, is as a flashback, basically. And it's
A series of flashbacks.
of flashbacks, and I think that was done well. I like that.
Yeah, that was cool, and like I said, a lot of his music in there, and musical numbers, and some cool scenes. The one thing that just like I was like, oh man! So this kid that they cast to be him when he's like a little kid looks just like he did. They show these side by side comparisons of the him in different parts of his life, and then like the costumes with like the real photos from the movie or anything and everything. But this kid cannot sing, and he's got like a screechy singing voice.
Yeah.
But he looks just like Elton John did at that age.
Yeah, it's very uncanny likeness.
But it was like, oh god, stop singing, kid. You're no good.
Yeah. I mean, that's what auto-tuners are for, Nolan.
Yep, auto-tune. You should have done that. I don't know.
I think they did do that. There were some scenes where that kid was singing that were clearly auto-tuned. But yeah, so
But the part where the kid's singing Rocketman at the bottom of the pool was not.
Yeah, that wasn't real great. So yeah, I mean, if you like Elton John music, or just like this kind of a biopic sort of movie, go check it out. And yeah, I mean, it's like It's one of those things where like I don't know what else there is to say about it because
Yep.
that is the
Just
whole movie.
Elton John. So, yeah, I think we can move on and just end it.
Yeah. Well, okay. So our next review is going to be for The Dead Don't Die, starring Bill Murray, Adam Driver, which looks pretty amusing. I'll see just about anything with Adam Driver in it anymore, though. And then after that, we've got Men in Black International, Shaft, although we might be seeing Shaft before Men in Black.
I don't know.
Unclear.
We'll see.
We'll see what happens. And then Toy Story 4 rounds out the month, unfortunately. Oh, wait, no, that's the second to last weekend of the month. The last weekend of the month is yesterday. And then following month, we're seeing Spider-Man, Far From Home, and Stuber, both of which look pretty good. And Lion King is also in July, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And that's what we got coming up for rest of this month and next month. Man, that Hobbs and Shaw movie. Oof. That's I don't know what to think about that movie. But yeah, we'll be seeing that too, I'm sure. So yeah, that's what we got coming up. If any of that sounds of interest to you, check back for updates or hit the alert button, the one that looks like a bell, or however YouTube happens to be working from week to week.
Yeah.
And hopefully you'll be able to check out those other movie reviews as they come out. And check out other reviews too. We just did one for Dark Phoenix.
Yes, we did.
What was the last one before that? What did we do?
Aladdin?
Aladdin?
Maybe?
Was it Aladdin? I don't know. We see a lot of movies.
I think it was Aladdin.
We see so many movies, so it's hard. We lose track sometimes. But yeah, so that's what we got coming up. So until next time.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. Toodles.